Hello, everybody. This is J.R. Burgess. Thank you so much for jumping in and learning some of the solutions that we can do to collaborate together to really make a difference in healthcare. And this is a special year. This is the 30th anniversary of the Medical Fitness Association. And we want and wish we could be in person together, but want everything to do to help you all take to the next level of healthcare. And that is the integration of technology, medicine, health, and fitness, and why early adopters and innovators stand to win big. We've had troubles in healthcare when it comes to chronic disease and chronic pain, and many of us know that fitness, wellness, longevity is a conversation that has been involved for a long time in the Medical Fitness Association. We're the pioneers of really working together of how we can have preventative solutions that make a difference for not only our families and our communities, but beyond. And I'm honored to be here and be a part of this because medical fitness has been critical in my life and my professional growth, and even in my health and for my family now. So my journey began a little over 15 years ago when I was going through grad school. And I was a personal trainer, and the show The Biggest Loser came out, and it really sparked an idea in my mind when the doctor looked the patient in the eyes and said, do you know you're at risk of stroke, heart attack, or disease? And even though they may have had diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity years before, I saw that the physician authority meant so much to the patient. And I had numerous injuries, previous traumas in my life that I had unresolved. And essentially, I would play rugby on the weekends and limp all week long. And I went to a doctor that said, JR, because you exercise and eat healthy, you're going to get a better outcome. But I want to look inside your body, see your chemistry, see your testosterone, your thyroid, your vitamin D. And then he did prolotherapy and platelet-rich plasma, where you take your own blood and inject it back in. And 3 months later, I was back to playing rugby at full strength, and I was bought in, and he asked me to join him to be a concierge to his patients, to take on the business side so he could focus on regenerative medicine and functional medicine. And it was a dream opportunity, just like The Biggest Loser came about. And I said yes. And I quickly learned that a lot of the patients that had disease or injury just wanted a pill or an injection in many cases, and didn't really want to change how they were living, how their behaviors were contributing potentially to their cause. So we had to learn how to market. So I went to a lot of professional masterminds across numerous industries over 10 years and found that we could have great success by first getting great outcomes and learning how to integrate into the clinic. So we went from 1,000 square feet to 6 to 28,000 square feet and started licensing our model all across the country. I got to about 100 locations and recognized that the doctors didn't necessarily have the business background, that's where we needed to teach leadership, business, marketing, communication. Then what our belief was that any healthcare model without exercise, nutrition as the foundation was not healthcare, it was managed care. And that fits for certain people, certain, demographics, people that don't have resources or are willing to commit to change, that model's still relevant and really needed. But we saw something different. So when we got them good at business and clear in their message, and then added the medical fitness and then integrated it, which we'll be talking about towards the end of this presentation, we were getting game-changing results. So myself, I'm passionate. I've ran from one addiction to the next, from drugs, alcohol, to sports, to work addictions. Was getting really burnt out because I was managing 3 7-figure plus companies. And a little over a year and a half ago, I decided to go out on my own just to be able to consult different doctors and trainers that were committed to just bringing medical fitness or preventative or lifestyle regenerative medicine to the forefront, because I seen that's where we could make the biggest difference. So I'm honored to be here. It's a little bit about me, and where I recognized I was at a conference, and I'm so thankful my partner sent me to a lot of conferences to learn, because I believe growth is in education, which we'll be talking about, is a critical factor for all of our success and for innovation. So I was at a conference of all orthopedic executives, and they had a keynote presenter from Athena Health on there, and he's like, let's hear some innovative ideas of how we can change healthcare. We know we're the worst in the world at disease and chronic pain, and we need innovation. And I was sitting and brewing inside, and I really wasn't a speaker at one point and had major reservations for speaking in public, but I could feel the passion and energy brewing inside of me. And there's 1,000 people in this conference room, and I stand up and I scream, I have a solution. And he says, what is it? And I said, it's medical fitness. And the crowd was like crickets and silence. I was hoping to get some sort of reaction. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea and everything. And I said, no, not just medical fitness in there, but when we integrate it, that it's a part of every single patient that walks through the facility, that the doctors are communicated, there's a treatment plan. And still it was crickets. And I was starting to shrink inside and everything. And afterwards, at least a couple people came up to me and is like, that's a good idea, JR, but a lot of us have tried medical fitness, and a lot of our centers have performance areas or these nice buildings and facilities that have fitness as the ongoing, but they've lacked being profitable or a part of the care model. And I said, I know that's the next step of how to tie it all together. And the cool part is I was looked at it outside the box. So was our company 10 years ago. And in 2019, I got to be a major presenter at that conference where I got to show the model. But prior to that conference, there were breakouts, and everybody was standing in a room, and we were all in, depending on how many providers, put in groups to do brainstorming. And the facilitator went around the room and said, how many of patients does your top physician see per day? And one said 50, and the next guy next to him said, my doctor sees 80 patients a day. And they're all like, ooh, can they come to my practice? Can they help me? And it came to me and I said, you know, that is the problem with healthcare. This is a volume model. I know that that's good for profits, but if it were my mother who's in chronic pain and had injuries, I would be ashamed to send them to a doctor that was seeing 80 patients a day. Let's just say they worked 8 hours a day. That's maybe between those patients 4 minutes if they don't wash their hands, if they don't put time in their notes to connect, to listen, to hear the history of what has been tried and not, and then offered 1 or 2 solutions, which would be surgery, cortisone, soup parts injections, all that manage care, but don't restore or regenerate the health. And I had, crickets again, but I had a couple people that came up to me after and said, JR, I really never thought of it that way. And you're right. I wouldn't want that for a family or a loved one. I said, you know, this isn't to shame anybody. This is what do we got to think about for next level healthcare. I understand the volume and the bottom line of how that's important, but can there be a better way? And hopefully in this presentation today, I can share a little bit of my history, a little bit of how we've integrated and where I see healthcare going. COVID to me has presented an opportunity for us to think about how we have a new patient experience, how we use technology, how we have patients in the room, but we also can connect with personal trainers and health coaches via telemed, workbooks, and these experiential models that really give people what they need to be listened, to be heard, to see all their options, to be told that their health, their lifestyle, how they handle stress, how they move, how they eat matters in their healthcare, which the old model of care didn't have the time to address all those needs. So we're going to take a deep dive in some ways to think, because there's numerous ways. There's not one way of doing things. There's multiple ways of how we can be innovative. So I work with frustrated doctors that are burnt out. They spend more times in their electronic health records than they do being able to counsel, to help heal, to listen. They often have denials, even for their time, only to see reimbursements continue to be cut. And they've struggled to really provide the care that they went into school in the first place. And I see the same with trainers. They have been putting out certifications, they have the background, they're working the skills, they want to collaborate, but at the same time, they don't know how to approach it, or they end up frustrated or not able to help their ideal client on the way that is possible for them. And a lot of people are burnt out. Personal trainers only last a handful of years on average because they don't have the financial means to make a professional career out of this. So there's some innate problems, and we're going to cover what they are. And I see patterns, and I learned to see what are the common threads that both of these incredible gifts of healers, of people that are passionate about helping others, what are some of the problems that they face? And the first is money. And we are often told, well, does my insurance cover it? But the average person now has a $4,000 deductible and family. So they are continuing to spend money on treatments that don't get to the root cause, and they're often in the same boat. So, you know, retail is the future. People will pay for a problem they've been unable to solve. And this shows up in what I call transference of feelings. Doctors don't like to talk about money. Trainers don't like to talk about money. And I get it, because I was a personal trainer and I was going through grad school. Even working 60 hours of work, personal training while going to grad school, I was making 20 grand a year. I loved to exercise and eat healthy at that standpoint. I was very coachable. So what I did is I transferred the wrong feelings, meaning I would tell them, hey, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know in 30 days or 60 days, and then you can do it on your own. But what I recognized is these people weren't me. They were people that had family histories, traumas. They needed a coach. They needed inspiration, motivation, accountability. So basically, I was hurting them in my message that I thought was about helping them. And that was completely wrong. If you look at Olympic athletes, top executives, they have a coach. I now have one in finance, in medicine, in health, and in spirit, and all of the best people, because I'm not an expert in each one of these areas, and I want the best in each one of these areas. So I'm always being a coach. So if you're a trainer out there, or a medical professional, or a leader, or an executive, and you're not getting that coaching of how to overcome your barriers to get to that next level, it's somewhat hypocritical. So money has to get out of the way. We're either going to transfer feelings that I don't have enough, or I already have this figured out, but that's not the people searching for the problem, versus I now see it completely different, that I have a solution, which goes into confidence, that if they comply, if I can motivate them, that our solution's in the best. And in fact, it came back to to this solution is years ago, I had a lady that came in and bought a 10 session package, because that was the easiest for me to sell. And after 10 sessions in a month, she lost 20 pounds with me. I knew she drank. I knew she went to the casino, and she says, JR, you've changed my life. Thank you so much. I'm going to take this and do it on my own. I said, great. Call me if you ever need anything. And I got a call, not from her, but from a friend 6 months later, that she died of a stroke. And man, did I take it personally. I felt as if I killed her. Now, you know, that I've grown up a little bit, I've recognized we each are responsible for our own choices and our own destiny and our future. And the fact of the matter is, what I didn't do is fight for her. Told her the stages of psychological change that I've learned now, and the journey that they're going to have to experience to really make these changes last. And now I believe that if anybody walks out of our consult, and I'm working in a model of care that is a solution that can transform lives, I feel that I'm killing them. So I come up with that confidence, because confidence is the #1 predictor of success. And I don't mean ego, but it's about commitment. It's about finding courage. It's about finding capabilities of how to navigate all the barriers that are going to come in our way, whether we're a client, a patient, or in business, and then really gaining that confidence after those. So it's the psychologies and the 5 to 7 inches between our brain that determine our overall success. The next is communication, and this is the greatest skill of all. People think sales is manipulation. Communication is just about influence. It's about marketing. It's about promoting and connecting and listening and engaging. It's about being open to what solutions are. If you haven't figured it out, like so many people have this dogma in fitness, yoga or paleo or CrossFit, and in healthcare, it's like, you're a chiro, you're a surgeon, you're this. And it's just like, if we're not great at healthcare, why do we be open to how do we collaborate? Because Jeff Bezos, I try to model success, says he doesn't look for people with strong beliefs. He looks for people with strongly held opinions, but weakly held beliefs. Because what's going to get us to the next level is about learning, is about communicating, collaborating with different perspectives and outside awarenesses. So we have to become great at communicating between medical boards and fitness professionals, communication of leading our teams and not reacting or being too passive. So communication will show up in business with your clients and your relationships in your families, and it's the ultimate skill for us to continue to work on. And then another problem right now is censorship. A lot of these innovative healthcare models that can actually restore and regenerate are getting censored. There's a lot of money in pharma and big insurance and everything. And I'm not saying that that doesn't fit the need. I see the absolute need for that model of care, but there's a threat to getting people healthy. But the one thing, even when we were considered outside the box, is that is not censored is lifestyle medicine, listening, talking about movement, exercise, nutrition. So in a virtual world that we're now all living in, we can't be the best kept secrets. We got to get that message of health prevention out there now more than ever. And the next step is a lot of people don't have clarity on the solution. They just go about doing, they get lonely, they get isolated, but they don't know what's next. So if you're not getting mentorship, like I talked about, for somebody that's done exactly what you're looking to do and know your best next move, not your next best move, hear that word, not the next best move, but your best next move, and know how to focus on one thing at a time, you're going to struggle, just like I have and so many other entrepreneurs, until they get incredibly focused on what's the best next move. And then time, but we all have the same time, right? So how do we learn how to get productive? How do we shut off social media? How do we put our first things first? How do we learn how to delegate and create systems that allow for freedom? There's technology, there's people. These are things that must get out of the way if we're going to start moving towards a better direction of care, because we are in a healthcare crisis. We cannot continue to support the rising costs. Implosion is inevitable. You've seen the diabetes prevention program, but there's still a lot of red tape, bureaucracy, reporting that makes it not profitable. And I'm not saying that's not part of the solution, or bundled payments, or outcome-based care. These are all great things that are progressing, but still the retail, the cash side is the people that are searching right now for solutions. So knowing how to market that and meet them where they're at, prove outcomes, track data, which at the MFA we're taking on committees and would ask all of you to be involved in the areas where your expertise or where you see gaps and where we can all collaborate to support the next level of health. Is we need you. We need all of us to contribute, and we are working inside this committee to track outcomes. We need your participation, because retail is the only way to help right now. I can't wait to get access to the masses to where they can all have these services a part of their healthcare solutions, and it's a part of model of the care. But outcomes and data is critical to get there. So we truly need to get to target the root causes to truly change healthcare and decrease costs. So that is how we're going to get the attention, is decreasing costs, showing proven outcomes, having studies. That's the medical language, versus we all would be preaching to the choir that we know it should be a part of the care, but we got to do the work. And the MFA has done a great job of putting some of the pieces together, but we all need to participate to get to that next level, because there is a gap. And you've all heard this analogy, and the medical fitness is that bridge that gaps fitness in healthcare to a preventative model, to an outcome-based model. So we got to fill that. And what I talked based on my initial story is that means making the business side work. We all, if we have the right certifications background, that's all an essential foundation, which I'll cover, but we got to learn how to make these models work. And we got to break the pattern. Got to choose a different route. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, as Einstein or somebody said, is the definition of insanity. So I'm so lucky, based on my crazy upbringings and the things that allowed me to be here. I just turned 40, and my parents said I'd be lucky to live to 20. So I've defied and doubled the odds in their minds. And I've been able to create this beautiful, amazing family. As a father of 4 kids, I want to be a part of a solution, not a part of the problem. Because when you point fingers, you're really pointing right back at yourself. When you project outwards of, well, they don't listen or they don't do that, you're letting go of the control or the power you have to be a part of the solution. And I want to build a foundation my family can live and thrive in helping redefine or reinvent our healthcare system. You and I can provide the greatest impact. I know all of you came here in this profession to help people, and there's a whole world out there looking for us. And you have a gift, and I believe that you have that burning desire inside. And doctors are the key that understand this. These facilities that are investing in medical fitness are the key to understanding this. You and I are the key to understanding how we can solve this problem, because the current system is not going to get us there. So in order to believe instead of point the finger, sometimes even Tony Robbins have been through his events, says you have to believe, but you have to visualize it and paint it. And what does it look like, and manifest that? And I don't need to bring all the woo here, but take a second and visualize and picture what is the solution to reverse or better manage chronic disease and body degeneration while building an impactful, profitable, and sustainable healthcare model that restores and regenerates health. You have to believe it. And if you don't, reach out to me at the end of this presentation. I'd love to show you models that are doing this. There are models inside of our network here that are doing it. And the best of the best are the places that you want to follow. There's the facility certification. That's the best of the best that are doing their part to be accepted or trusted by their healthcare physicians inside the network or the hospital system or in these private studios. So having the education, the foundation, the trust is a critical factor to begin to lay the visualization for everybody to see it, not just us, because we all believe it. Maybe we don't see it or know how, but we got to get the world to see it. Our perception is different than theirs. So we know the answer is medical fitness. That is exercise that is medically supervised. That is health coaching, weight optimization, fat, muscle, and lean gain. So what if you do yoga and somebody else does strength training? That's still a part of it. Healthy nutrition services, hormone optimization. So many personal trainers or health coaches are taking those type of certifications now that allow them to be the accountability after the physicians have made the treatment plan. So there's opportunity. Avoiding foods, gut sensitivity, genetic testing. There's cutting edge stuff out there, helping people sleep and recover and not continue to be stressed. If we get stressed out patients that have chronic inflammation and we think the solution is having them work out hard for 5 days a week, that's not what medical fitness is. Regenerative procedures, nutraceuticals, biohacking, these technologies coming and creating passive exercise within the facilities. It's exciting. I hope you guys are all excited as I am about these technologies and solutions that are forming right now because of our advancements and because of passionate and committed folks just like you. So that's where it all began for me. You guys heard my story in the beginning. So was a rugby player. That was my emotional release. And, I thought that I wasn't going to be able to play sports anymore. So I went and saw that doctor. He had me come on and join him. And this was actually the second room. I started in an 80 square foot closet. And in Minnesota, I would be training in the hallways of the clinic from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. before they started, and 5 p.m. for 8 p.m. I was a little crazy and addicted to work. During the summer when it was nice outside for 2 weeks, I'd be doing my exercises and yoga and plyometrics out in the grass. And we started growing, but we started by marketing medically supervised weight loss in the newspaper. And a lady named Susan came into our world, and she had chronic pain. She was severely depressed. She had obesity. She had already had 7 joint replacements. So the orthopedic said there's nothing else that they could do. She was on 17 different medications and having to use opioids. And her pain management doctor, because she was in such pain, called her a drug chaser. And she was like, JR, there's nothing I could do. And I said, Susan, I don't know that I'm equipped to help you right away, but I'm happy you came here, because let me get you over to Dr. Baumgartner. He looked and evaluated her, got her over to physical therapy, got her over to the functional medicine side of it. They optimized her labs, started doing physical therapy. They gave us some corrective exercises as the trainer. I passed her off to our nutritionist. And 3 months later, this lady was completely transformed. She was down 50 pounds, off all but 2 of her medication, had her zest and vitality back, and has since referred over 100 patients. So when you get outcomes, you get a self-referral generating opportunity to continue to impact more lives. And did we have to learn how to ask for it when people have excitement for our model and how to position that and leverage that to get better? But if you're not getting referrals and testimonials, the number one thing is to go back and look at, are you getting the best outcomes that are possible? Because if you are, there's simple ways of bringing them on to be a part of the mission that can forever impact more lives beyond the one-on-one time that we can do. So what we found when, just like myself came through our model and what Susan came through our model, that we had a 3-step system that if we could get them evaluated that doctor just like The Biggest Loser to say, you need this, and recommend confidently that we have a solution, then our trainers and our nutritionists could work to restore their life with the fitness, nutrition, sleep, relaxation. Then we could rejuvenate their internal chemistry and by functional medicine. That's IVs, that's cutting edge labs, that's supplementation. Then we could rebuild their body with regular orthopedics, bracing, physical therapy, regenerative orthopedics. Sometimes they don't need the regenerative medicine if they're doing all these three things. But we were getting great outcomes when they would show this. But we had to create papers that I'll show you at the end that showed them that if you miss one of these legs of the stool, you're not going to get the same outcomes as the other people. So it wasn't, let me sell more. It's like, this is the formula. And if you come and you do PRP in your knee and you come back a month later and you say, well, I'm no better. And I would say, well, tell me how the physical therapy is going. Tell me how your nutrition's going. Well, I didn't do that. Well, remember I said from the beginning, this is a long-term treatment plan. You didn't get arthritis overnight or diabetes overnight. This is about a journey of looking at all the components that are necessary to get you consistent and predictable results. So that's where things really started to change. We went from 1,000 square feet to 6. I didn't have that in here. This was our 28,000 square foot integrated center that really had all three of those departments completely lined out together. I usually do a video that shows this, our model, and when we won a big award, but the audio doesn't come out too great on the virtual event. So we were seeing people from depression to hip replacements to obesity to couldn't get pregnant, and we were getting fantastic results. I know people always talk about the scale. We give them what they want and they come seeking for, but are always providing the long-term complete desires of what their life would look like when they transform. So we were really outside the box in our community. We're called voodoo doctors because we did regenerative medicine, because we did functional medicine. Now that is really taking steam in a big way, and nearly every orthopedic center does offer it now. So, but we always knew within, and this is where innovation comes. No conformist has ever changed the world. So if you think differently, if you see a gap, innovation and pioneers, they take a lot of arrows in the back. But in the end, people recognize, because people need to protect and hold on to what's working if they're making profits. So that's where we always got to be. What is best for the world? What is best for the consumers? And we need to innovate and collaborate. So we continue to have success. We started licensing our model all around the world, to China, to Taiwan, into clinical models, nutrition centers, hospitals, surgery centers, physical therapy, chiropractic, naturopath, gyms on their own, adding the doctors to their models. Corporate wellness has exploded, especially if they're self-insured, because they pay for unhealthy employees. So if we can avoid the surgeries with regenerative medicine, or we can add the nutrition, the exercise to their models and reduce their spends, that is how we make a difference, through monetary means. Not that I want that, it's just the fact of the matter of business. So we're excited to introduce our model to China and Taiwan, and we started seeing doctors. Dr. Tate came, I was at a fitness conference, and he said, JR, I'm leaving healthcare. I'm here to become a personal trainer. I said, wait a minute, you spent all that money, you have these skills, don't be a personal trainer, be the guy that brings on a personal trainer and still impacts these patients this way. So he came and seen, he was frustrated because he was forced to see hundreds of patients a week inside of his facility. He was giving steroid epidurals, cover-ups, and drugs, only to see reimbursement, red tape. Well, insurance won't cover that, even though he knew it was the best for the patients. But his concern was he had no business and marketing know-how to go on his own. And that's why I say you go within a system where they've done it. Doesn't mean you won't have to grow, learn how to communicate, be a leader, a manager, but there's already people that have paved the way that can give you some shortcuts to success. 3 years later, at our business summit, he won our regenerative practice of the year. He has a full practice of cash medicine that includes functional, medical fitness, and is impacting lives. But it didn't happen overnight. It took a couple years. It took some hard lessons that people have to learn for himself, and he's really made a difference. And that's where we recognized, and we went away from just medical fitness to, we had to teach the practitioners all of the 5 pillars of business, which were vision and personal pillar, leadership, business, projections, numbers, staffing, HR, systems. Pillar 3, marketing and sales, even though that word makes people cringe and hold back. But why? I'm going to ask you to examine that, because maybe you're willing to talk about your favorite restaurant or somebody that's changed your life. Do you not have that same belief of the solution that you could provide? And I've never hard sold, I've never been icky, sleazy, or slimy to anybody whatsoever. And then when they have that good business model, let's add that medical fitness component. And then pillar 5, let's integrate it and tie it all together. So these were proud evolutions of recognizing a gap and continuing to innovate. Failure is not failing, it's learning what does and doesn't work and continuing to fulfill the persistence and passion that comes with what we all believe in. And that's where we had our network of doctors in the mastermind, bringing them together to collaborate so they weren't in isolation and having the means to work together. We all know this right now is the perfect storm. The healthcare crisis is not going away, but now they need us more than ever. The CDC just now came out this last month and saying exercise, nutrition, vitamin C, Fauci even said vitamin D is okay. It's because they were bound by money and lobbying and all these other things. We all knew it. It's easy to see. So the pressure for these systems, especially now to do more and see more, is not going to change. But now they have capacity issues. Hospitals are going bankrupt. Centers are going bankrupt. We can't see people. Some states aren't even open to fitness. So how do we be essential? How do we be a part of the care model? Well, that is medical fitness. There's ways to make this work or being delivered virtually. So the consumers are seeking better care and demanding better care. This shift is consumer driven, and we are at the start of a major shift. So the opportunity is now to make a change in this booming industry that is finally ready for us. We are the solution. So that's where I continue to bring out books and solutions. And what I'm going to now tap into the next half hour here is it's going to take innovation. It's going to take collaboration. It's going to take education in integration. The old model of healthcare was sickness and industry release. Now it's continued treatment, prescribed medical fitness, evaluate, incorporate the lifestyle, balance that health and prevent. But still, this is the model inside of systems of healthcare, but we have the idea and the opportunity to get out there on the forefront. Doctors aren't the marketers and salespeople are the messengers unless they're independent, know and recognize they have to. But if you're a part of a medical system, we now as the trainers and wellness professionals or leaders get out there and communicate this message, bring people in for medical fitness, evaluate, change their lifestyle and behavior, learn how to integrate them into the clinic if there's a need at all, or to get advanced labs or regenerative medicine if there's pain or injuries that are holding them back. But they are open and aware, so we can start at prescribing medical fitness when we learn the right marketing solutions to attract those patients that are seeking right now. So let's get into innovation. That is telemed. We can all be a part of that. That is membership site. The doctors don't have to say the same lifestyle things over and over. Create 25 to 10-minute videos with a little bit of worksheet on there and have the trainers show up weekly with the group visit and hold the accountability and teach the protocols that the clinics believe in. So simple solutions that people are just not seeing because they've been in their lane. We got to look outside. AI is helping advance speed and information at a rapid rate. Technology, EMR systems, SMS systems, so many amazing things that I've been so thankful to be a part of, that I'm seeing awesome solutions that are reinvention. Reinvention comes from outside industry experts. How many of you are working with amazing marketers, salespeople, business leaders from other industry and learning what it takes? We now have to look outside of our narrow window. Advanced lab testing, screenings, prevention measures. We can determine if somebody with specific lab tests is due for a heart attack with a simple test, instead of these people dying of sudden heart attacks. And there's numerous things like this. Genetics. Hey, not only do you have a family history, but I took my genetic testing and recognized I was going to have musculoskeletal injuries, disc degeneration, heart issues. If I would have started stretching at a young age, I might have prevented the numerous surgeries. I've had 11 stem cells, 13 surgeries. I've hurt or ruptured nearly every body part. And now I'm back to feeling the best because I'm taking a comprehensive approach and looking at all areas. Integrated health centers. These are part of the future. Instead of these malls and shopping centers, how do we have all the components under one roof? These are the models of the future. Access for all. You heard me already talk about that. But first, we got to improve outcomes, compliance, reduce liability, have safety, have concierge models. That is what it's going to take to have access for all. And I'm working with people that are putting together certifications that help get covered. We're working right here in our communities, doing the work to help have access for all, and it's super exciting. So I encourage you to participate in innovation. So what are some steps, some action items? So I'm not just speaking at you here, is getting new voices, asking new questions. That was part of my visualization. What is it going to take? What is different? Who knows? Who might have some insight? Conversations with the doctors, learning their problems. That's how I became what I became, is listening to the doctor's problems, listening to the trainer's problems, listening to the healthcare leaders' problems. But if I'm just teaching at them, that's like telling your kids to brush your teeth. They don't listen. It's called the parent trap. We have to ask questions or lead them to the answer. So that is what persuasion is, not pushing. New perspectives, new passions. What are you passionate about? Maybe your family, your lifestyle has changed. If you're not showing passion, it's going to be hard for other people to follow. New experiments. We don't get it overnight. That's what I mean. We got to be okay to fail or do trials or split testing in marketing. But because you made a mistake, that shuts some people down. Versus I high five mistakes, because we need those new experiments to really dive deep into what is going to be the change. And I like this relationship marketing analogy. We got to create an amazing customer experience. We know the business, we got to generate new leads, but how do we tailor that information so it's talking to them? If somebody's in our clinic or healthcare facilities for diabetes and I'm talking about strength training, that's not targeted messaging. So if we're not using technology and tools to really follow up, to care, to provide an experience that you feel like they're talking to them, we're going to lose them. But all these tools are absolutely there for us to be using for our benefit, for the world's benefit, for our patients' benefit. We call it, I only look for opportunities that are win-win-win situations for the patient, the client, or the consumer, for the business, and for the employees. They must be win-win-win to get the buy-in to change the world. So after innovation, we go to collaboration. Collaboration is what I learned through rugby. Life can teach us lessons, and parenting can teach us lessons. I was a competitive athlete, played college baseball, every sport, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, growing up, and that was how I hid from my trauma. I was severely teased as a kid, and sports were the only thing that had me. I had plastic surgery. That didn't fix my self-worth, but I was never the most talented. But I would dive in. I would learn, what are the other players doing? What are their strengths and weaknesses? What are our strengths and weaknesses? But my objective was to beat the other team. And still, I after college, after my 5th knee surgery, one of my high school, after fall ball was over, one of my high school competitors from the other school said, JR, you were a good football player. Why don't you try rugby? So I said, okay. So the first game, we get out there and I see the scrum, and I've heard about rugby, and my mom, I told her I was going to go play, said, do you know people break their neck in there? And look at that. The scrum is where people break their neck. But you need the other team to hold you up, to be positioned right. You actually need them to push up against you or this thing can collapse. So you need that other team to keep you safe in a scrum. Not only that, is rugby has a lot of fanship. You play, you still want to beat this other team, impose your will on them. And I love that. I got to play offense and defense, and I'd turn into a different human being on the pitch. And I got really good at it. But the thing that shocked me versus competition after my first game is that right after the game, we hosted the opposing team. We had a keg of beer. We had barbecue galore. They started singing songs. We were all high-fiving, hugging, embracing. And this went from competition to coopetition, to collaboration for love. And just a few years ago, I brought that analogy together and was like, that was my aha moment. Oh my goodness. Healthcare, it's again, the surgeon says the MD is nothing. The MD says the chiropractor is a quack. The doctor says, well, that's just a personal trainer. And it's ego-based, it's competition-based, versus at rugby, we're all high-fiving because we just played the game of rugby. An intense and miraculous feat of the highest proportion, in my opinion, but we're all in it together. And how did I learn this in healthcare? because all of my injuries, all my traumas, I wasn't getting any better. I even came down with Lyme's disease. I was getting worse and worse, even working with the best of the best doctors. I was fixing an injury, then I'd get re-injured. So what I've learned by working with all these amazing innovators is that there is not one doctor, if you're dealing with multiple issues, that is going to change your life. It is physical, it is internal, it is mental, it is emotional, it is spiritual. So now I've worked with energy doctors, which was way outside the box before, healers, plant medicine, the top doctors, regenerative doctors, orthopedic surgeons, the team doctor of the Boston Celtics I'm working with that's doing regenerative medicine. They're doing, at the time of surgery, regenerative medicine because they found it had better outcomes versus communication before was closed. Well, that doesn't work, or there's no evidence. Were they learning? Were they staying to the evidence? Did they go see? So all these bogus excuses are ego-based. So collaboration is the only way that we're going to change healthcare and help these people with multiple issues, with chronic disease. In fact, I've seen now that I believe that if people are injured and they have all these back pain, that they almost need to go get the trauma out before. Because if they're holding on to that pain, that stress of whatever happened in the past, not that it wasn't real, but suffering, because if you were raped as a child, you are no longer feeling that pain. Maybe emotionally you're suffering, but that's going to be trapped in the body if we don't know how to release it and get it out of the way, because the suffering only goes on in the mind. And I'm not minimizing that. That's the worst thing that somebody could probably experience. So what I'm saying is that unresolved or not learned to be out will continue to show up in these people with chronic issues. It's training. I recognize that in The Biggest Loser. It's that there were so many emotional components to obesity, to disease. And now that's the area that I look to address the fastest, because, and I don't personally address it. I know how to connect them and listen and get them and be, I call myself a quarterback in healthcare. Let me hear what's going on, what's presenting, let me hear their language, and then present a collaboration plan to work on all of it at once. And they may say, well, I can only have the budget for this. And I know where to quarterback this playbook. So that's what collaboration is. So how do we begin our journey into medical fitness? Well, right now, all these healthcare facilities, even if you want to be essential, if you're a personal trainer, is, and I'm not saying it works in every state and everything like that, but these are just areas to explore and look down, is you could go work with them and rent space from them. There's so many open exam rooms, and the minute you do that, your authority is already impacted. You could be referral partners, not any financial compensation, but refer to them. A lot of trainers that I work with say, why don't they refer to me? Well, have you referred to them? Have you put them on a Facebook? Has you leveraged them as an authority? Have you been the go-giver? My model of business is give, 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 and they will ask. Let me give you an example. I quickly became one of the busiest personal trainers at Gold's Gym after just starting, and they said they weren't going to refer to me, that they already had trainers that were more experienced in everything. So I went in that gym and asked everybody for 2 weeks of free training, however much they wanted. Every single client in there that wasn't working with somebody. So yes, I had a month of 80-hour work weeks, but then by month 2 and 3, I was completely full. And then I was getting results, and they were referring their friends. So it's about what you do, not what you're expecting to get. So referral partners, start by being the go-giver and watch things come back to you. You could be an independent contractor. All of these functional and regenerative doctors don't have the time to work with them on a concierge model. So you could do what they call it eat what you kill. I call it earn what you deserve. That, hey, I will give you a 40% split for anybody that you refer to me. Those are win-win opportunities. Or you could become an employee like I did. Even though I had my graduate degree, I took a $45,000 salary to work with that doctor, and I became an employee. And I've held those, but they've all wanted a salary to begin with. And if you don't quickly pay for yourself, you become an expense, just like why everybody was crickets in my initial story, because I wasn't, that a lot of these places are an expense. So I learned how to break even very quickly, even when I was in medical fitness. Then I said, let me continue to reinvest at a break even into getting trainer 2, 3, to reinvest the marketing, and saw that I wasn't ever going to be a parasite, which I call, that drains from the system, but only a value of a go-giver that added to the system. So that's how you could become an employee. You could partner now. A lot of docs, because of telemed, can't prescribe across state lines, even though they have a solution that could work. You could have a coaching business, or you, in many states, you could form a management company where you could add the medical fitness, the lifestyle components if you're a little bit more entrepreneurial. So these are areas, I wish I had more time to break it all down. I'll ask to do a webinar next year where we can go maybe just much deeper into this slide alone on how you can present it. But trust me, this is where your business opportunity is in this slide right here of learning how to make it a win-win-win scenario that is not parasitic in nature. So what are your responsibilities if you're going to be an employee or a manager or a director? Is you must first grow it. Otherwise, again, it's parasitic and a frustration versus success, money, profit, reinvest, passion, doing the right thing, like we all know these centers do, is really the difference. And then you start transforming the patients instead of taking the opportunity to say, so thankful Dr. Baumgartner believes in a preventative and a lifestyle model of care. He's a true health hero. It's not about me. I like making it about the team and other people. I know I played a small part, and that fulfills me at the core. Administrative roles. These are learning the social media, learning how to put autoresponders, how if they're saying, the doctors are saying the same thing in the room every time, how to create videos to save and leverage their time. So how do you make life easier for them? And then how do you have management leadership that isn't pushing people, but leading them, hearing what their future dreams and desires are, and holding them accountable to that, telling them and showing the map. Being a leader, not a hard manager, is the difference that a lot of these groups and training facilities need. Because if you're the star player, great, you get hit by a bus, you move away, then that whole facility or your practice suffers, versus we got to turn everyone on our team into great leaders, to producers, even if they don't know the marketing and sales, but then they must learn how to retain and get outcomes. So everybody has a role in the business, whether you're at the front desk, whether you're the maintenance man or woman, everybody has a solution. Excuse me while I take a drink. So what do we do to start gaining these referrals? We build physician trust. As we talk communication, are you a great communicator? Are you stepping into fear and learning how to go have that conversation in networking? Trust me, I had every fear surrounding networking, communication, speaking, and I learned, again, sports took me to an aha moment. I learned that I had to pee before every game. I'd get really nervous, but I always practiced. I was always prepared. And the minute the game started, it would all disappear and the world would drown. And I found the same thing through speaking, or that I would hold these uncomfortable conversations. I would either react or hold it all in and feel the trauma, versus I learned how to ask questions or share feelings in a non-reactive, in a non-invasive way. So this has took therapy, this has took marital counseling to continue to learn, and I continue to put all my efforts on communicate. Even if you hear me, I speak too fast, I give too much, I'm learning how to try to slow down and become better, because too much doesn't give people the action that they need. Follow through. If you say you're going to do something, say what you mean and mean what you say. Your word matters, especially with doctors. Produce results, make them look good, like I already said. Refer to them, become indispensable in some of these quick ways that I've already said. So I speak fast again, so you may have to rehear, because every statement, there's usually something to, and sit and percolate on that, because they matter. This is the business side of making it work. So what do you do to get education? Your network first. Are you in chambers? Are you in B&Is? Are you involved in committees? Are you on these webinars that MFA puts out learning? Are you in community? When you go to these events, or you have people that are going in the same direction, because none of my family goes in the same direction besides my wife. So I don't get that community from them. I get love from them, but I don't get my passion and my purpose through my internal community. What is your fitness specialty? Can't be great at everything. That's what every business or shiny object chaser wants to do. And again, 10 certifications or going and getting comfortable knowledge where you're great is not going to serve you if you don't be great at one first, and then learn how to business that and then scale into other places. So please hear that again. It matters. Medical industry knowledge. If we're trying to be in medical fitness and we don't know their language, what their words are, what their problems or needs are, and we just go from a parasitic perspective, we're going to miss. And then in business, again, I try to summarize complex matters into simple matters, there's 4 things in business that we must focus on. Attraction, meaning if you don't have new oncoming leads on demand predictably and consistently, that's your main problem. If you're getting leads and consults and you're not getting the goal numbers of people set, you have a conversion or a communication issue. If you need massive people and your bottom line isn't where it needs to be, there's operational inefficiencies. If you're bringing on a bunch of people and you're not keeping them for life in one matter or another, and always have to continue to market, there's something wrong in your retention. That's the simplest way I could break it down. Obviously, there's much more to the systems, the strategies, the protocols that make these the best, but there's numerous ways. There's not always one path. I always call it Kia, Cadillac, or Bentley. We can get a Kia marketing attraction system. It will get us from point A to B, but the Bentley's going to perform better. But we all have different budgets at different times into each one of these solutions. We'd all love to have a high-powered COO. Maybe you have to build somebody up with in between or hold that. Or again, when money comes reinvesting, you get that CFO so you can better improve your finances, reduce your taxable income, whatever that may be. And then again, if we are staying in our narrow scope of fitness and healthcare and not getting expertise outside, we are missing the whole playing field, what the best of the best businesses in the world do. So this is when I look at education. Doctors start in med school, they go to become an intern, residency, fellowship, attending. This is what I call a funnel. The more your education and skill set grow, the more people you can impact. And in healthcare, this is no different than in business. You first have to be a good producer. Otherwise, how are you going to become a communicator that teaches your secondary team members? How do you lead not only fitness, but the healthcare teams in these hospital systems and become an ultimate leader? How do you understand to make the business profitable, which is entrepreneurship? And then if you want just like to scale your license model, your systems to other care centers, facilities, to other people, then you can become a thought leader. You don't become that overnight. It's an educational journey of being great at each one of these levels. But if you're trying to be great at each one of these levels and you're trying to skip ahead, then you're forcing it versus coming it. And same with me, family and faith. Most people say that's important. Then, financial. Once you have that down, then health is important, wealth and joy. It's a funnel, and I'm not saying this one has to be in order, but the more joyous you are and have all those other matters, the more lives you're going to impact. This is not just about you, this is about impacting other lives. So again, financials, you may question why. I've never seen a homeless person impact other lives if they didn't have the finances themselves. So each one of these levels are about impacting more people. So hyper aware of these areas. I already talked about it, so I'll go through it quickly because I only have 7 more minutes. Leadership and influence. That is the key to your success. You may have that personal production skill, but how do you influence more people? How do you lead? How do you, again, you learn attraction and how to convert. That is sales, but it doesn't have to be pushy. I've never pushed anybody. I just know the psychology of it, and I know how to lead people there, and I know how to see if they're ready, and I'll always invite them to something free, something paid, and the ultimate transformation. I always have 3 options in my mind. So if somebody says I don't have nothing, then I'm going to give them a book. Then I'm going to give them my free online content. I'm going to say yes to everybody as long as they're willing to say yes to themselves. So we'll move through this. Integration, the last slide or section is, what is your fitness specialty? How does that cooperate with the medical? Maybe you're in cardiac rehab. Maybe you like corrective exercise and you're working with physical therapy. So there's usually a connection based on what your fitness specialty that can collaborate really well with medical. And then now how do you make the business system of that thing work together? We had, special cards that I'll show you in a second that help that gap. Business and networking, solving the businesses and the community's problems out there. The other businesses that have struggles. We did lunch and learns for free with the medical fitness approach, and that was our biggest way to grow before we knew how to market and attract people digitally. Always giving in the community to causes, to events. People saw us showing up, using those, again, digital marketing and technology platforms to integrate our model, our EHR with our point of sale. And then always making it about the consumer. How do they perceive it? How do they anticipate? How do they see this journey to where they tie together, because if you miss one of those pieces, one of these pieces, you're not going to be at optimal integration. So we must leverage our time, which we talked is a problem from the beginning, with systems technology, so we can be better, produce better outcomes, and move a little bit faster with lower overhead. So we thought, again, people would come for sports and ortho and go to medical fitness. So we learned two things to integrate when we started marketing and bringing people in for medical fitness. The first was an integrated movement screening. So if they squat and they had dysfunction, I would get them to PT. If they squat and they had pain, I would get them to the doctor. If they came in, they moved fine, but they had high blood pressure, cholesterol, had diabetes, I would get them over for a pre-exercise physical. During that pre-exercise physical, we started talking about their symptoms. We'd get them to functional medicine because that wasn't covered by insurance. So we had to create an integration system that was about bringing this. So we'd only have about 10% of our people that came to the clinic that would jump into medical fitness. We had 50% when I was the director of people that came for medical fitness that I'd integrate to the clinic. So you ask, why don't they do medical fitness in these facilities? Are 50% of the people that you're attracting going into your clinical system to get better care? So ask yourself that one, because that's the difference maker. That's how we became uber profitable. That's how we became a licensed model and other people were buying it, because the business model worked. So how do we seed patients? Again, we have in this clinic that I work with what we call the pain resolution plan. Even though she's a pain management doctor, pain management's a cop-out. Her patients wanted to get out of pain. So we would pre-seed. We had our protocol that incorporated all of our lifestyle, our age, and our activities, our physical therapy, our nutrition programs, our procedures and prescription. This is all she had before I came into the picture. So we created a pain resolution plan, but they are now recognizing their gap as the patient fills out this intake. And now the patient knows how to prescribe a treatment plan at the end based on, and this is based off motivational interviewing, them seeing their gap. I wish I had more time to jump into the psychology of this because it's powerful. But then at the end, based on these were all the options that we could provide them. Do we do it all at once? No. Had these patients had half of these? Yes. So it was based on their budget, their time, their beliefs, that we would find an integrated care plan that really transformed their lives. And this is crushing it in terms of what it was doing prior to not having this in there. So let's just say they come to the clinic first. How do we get them over to our medical fitness department? We'd say, thank you so much for coming to Rejuve. It's an honor that you've came here for your knee pain. We're going to do everything in our power to not only help you short term, but long term. So please log on to our university. It has our physician education on how to eat, how to move, how to breathe. And please share it with your family and friends, because your environment and the people supporting you really matter in terms of your long-term health and outcomes. So please log on and take a deeper dive. However, if you're looking for a little bit more support, accountability, and customization, we allow all of our patients a free medical fitness test drive. So this was our consult or integrated movement assessment, and then a customized session. So this went from getting 5 to 10% of people to 20% of people, and our team always converted about 65% of people into fitness programs. So knowing your numbers, we started to learn how to make this business model really start to hum. So we created that university. That's what you said. So they could go see Dr. Valine here and learn and get what true healthcare was. So it's join that university, a complete free gift. Yes, some people sell this. Tony Robbins says, raising the having level. The more you can give away while everybody else is paying for that, especially when people have budgets, the more you're just outing your competition. I am still a sports and a competitor. So yes, I still do like to win, but I know I'm not the only solution and I can collaborate. So you've seen the layout. This was the inside of our university. It talked nutrition, psychology, and it was seeding supplements. It was seeding nutrition, not pushing, not selling, just teaching them. So then when they'd come back for a few months visit later or something like that, well, maybe now I'm ready because we provided value first. We had levels of fitness. This was our fitness system. My mom comes with fibromyalgia and chronic pain, and the trainer's doing burpees on day one. I'd probably have a heart attack myself. So after they took that integrated movement assessment, based on how they moved, we would know how to move them in their journey. And for those of you that always want to see the financial component of why medical fitness started working for us, when I first started in 2009, we had no revenue. I did 131,000 the first year, but I'm going to take you to 2016, and we've done better years after. It's just I haven't changed the slide. is essentially we had $1.4 million in fitness revenue. But look at that fitness referral. I showed you that model. They came to fitness first, and then we referred them to the clinic for whatever their need was. That generated 1.6 million. What this doesn't account for is we trained so many people that didn't want fitness but had back pain. So that mother that I transformed their lives, or the wife, now tells their husband, you should go see the doc for your back pain. This clinic really gets it. So we believe of our 6.7 million that year, that medical fitness was responsible for nearly 3/4 of it. So that's how it's not parasitic and how it's a business model. So just to kind of wrap up here, this is what it takes. The 7 habits of highly successful integrated practices. Great outcomes. You need them. A great team. If you're great and you have nobody else that's good, good luck. How many good teams with just one great player have you seen win a championship? Operational process and consistency. If you don't have an integrated processes that highlights all the areas of your model, good luck. Remain siloed and call me in a couple years and see how well that profitable model's doing. Patience, making them a part of the journey, making them the hero stories. Professional referrals. Now we get referrals from chiropractics, from nutritionists, to all this because we know how to not step on toes and refer to each other. Marketing and sales is the foundation of growth, not in a slimy way, not in a manipulative way, but in a value-driven way. And then a commitment to excellence, always consistently growing, encouraging, and actually it's part of our core values, is making them grow if they're going to be a good culture fit long time. Not making them, just telling them, if you're not growing, this may not be the right model for you. So it comes down to strategy, folks. That's what we need to focus on. What is the strategy? Not just to continue to do. Strategy is very important. We got to step past fear, learn how to communicate, jump to the other side of that gap, and really take action, because most people confuse wishing and wanting with pursuing. You must place your trust in action. So I thank every one of you for being involved with the association, for joining this talk and learning and growing yourself. And I would love to invite you to, I have 3 different books that may be of value to you depending on what you're doing, but just email me, give me a sentence of what you're looking to accomplish, what your major challenge is, and I'd love to point you in the right direction or be of value to you, because next level health needs a next level business model. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Bob Boone. Thank you for the team. Thank you for all of the members. You're doing the right things. It's just take that strategy or this opportunity that we're all faced with to the next level. Push yourself. This is here and for us. I love you. Thank you so much.